James Baldwin was a unique, inspiring figure in American history. In his novels, poems, plays, and essays, he asked the most profound and challenging questions about the human condition, and issues such as masculinity, race, class, and sexuality in a time of great social change and upheaval. Born in Harlem in 1924, he rose to fame as a writer after his exile in France, where he was involved in Paris's bohemian left bank scene during the late 40s through to the end of the 50s. Known for his commanding oratory, he came to prominence in his homeland during the civil rights movement of the 1960s, where his commanding oratory and deeply moral prose proved to be a fearsome weapon in the battle against racism. Baldwin authored a host of works including Notes on a Native Son, Go Tell It to a Mountain, If Beale Street Could Talk, and Giovanni's Room. He was the recipient of numerous awards including the French Legion d'Honneur, and was described by renowned critic Harold Bloom as among the most considerable moral essayists in the United States. He passed in December 1987. Here are a selection of some of his most well-known words, views, and ideas. Please try to remember that what they believe, as well as what they do and cause you to endure, does not testify to your inferiority, but to their inhumanity. The most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose. Anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. Neither love nor terror makes one blind. Indifference makes one blind. Love does not begin and end the way we seem to think it does. Love is a battle. Love is a war. Love is a growing up. The victim who is able to articulate the situation of the victim has ceased to be a victim. He or she has become a threat. You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but then you read. It was books that taught me that the things that tormented me most were the very things that connected me with all the people who were alive, who had ever been alive. To be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. Those who say it can't be done are usually interrupted by others doing it. Everybody's journey is individual. If you fall in love with a boy, you fall in love with a boy. The fact that many Americans consider it a disease says more about them than it does about homosexuality. There are so many ways of being despicable, it quite makes one's head spin. But the way to be really despicable is to be contemptuous of other people's pain. If one really wishes to know how justice is administered in a country, one does not question the policemen, the lawyers, the judges, or the protected members of the middle class. One goes to the unprotected, those precisely who need the law's protection most, and listens to their testimony. Freedom is not something that anybody can be given. Freedom is something people take, and people are as free as they want to be. People pay for what they do, and still more for what they have allowed themselves to become. And they pay for it very simply, by the lives they lead. Love takes off the masks that we fear we cannot live without, and know we cannot live within. I use the word love here not merely in the personal sense, but as a state of being, or a state of grace, not in the infantile American sense of being made happy, but in the tough and universal sense of quest and daring and growth. The paradox of education is precisely this, that as one begins to become conscious, one begins to examine the society in which he is being educated. You don't have a home until you leave it, and then, when you have left it, you never can go back. People can cry much easier than they can change. It took many years of vomiting up all the filth I'd been taught about myself, and half believed, before I was able to walk on the earth as though I had a right to be here. You write in order to change the world. If you alter, even by a millimeter, the way people look at reality, then you can change it. People who treat other people as less than human must not be surprised when the bread they have cast on the waters comes floating back to them, poisoned. Nothing is more desirable than to be released from an affliction, but nothing is more frightening than to be divested of a crutch.